Okay, now I'm recording. Okay, so first question. I'm just gonna start maybe with Jeremy, and then we'll go to William, and then we'll go to Andrew, and then we'll go to. Is that everyone?
It.
That's everyone. Okay, cool. So pretty much introduce yourself, your background, name, your current job, and what college you went to, even if you're a big alum, and your college major, because that will influence things. So, Jeremy.
Sure. So I'm Jeremy Donovan. I am currently the video production and digital media coordinator for Binghamton University Athletics, working down in the event center. I graduated from SUNY Oswego in 2010. Following graduation, I got a job at Fox 40 here in Binghamton, starting part-time as a production assistant, working my way up to a full-time position as the weekend sports anchor / news reporter, and then getting promoted again to being sports director, where I got to anchor sports 5 days a week, and then started here at the university in January of 2018.
I heard Quinnipiac got
Sorry?
What happened? Somebody speak? All right. I guess I'll go to Andrew. Is that who I said would go next? Oh, William. William, you're up next. Sorry, forgot my order.
You can call me Will. So I graduated in 1981, a lifetime ago. I was a sociology major. I went to Binghamton for sociology, for a sight unseen for that department. I loved it. I did a little WHRW radio. I don't know how much TV existed when I was in the university. If it did, I wasn't aware of it. Certainly not BTV. Following college, I got a job at Channel 12, WBNG. And there were a lot of people from Binghamton there. A whole generation went on, both technical and the news. I started minimum wage, 3 hours a day, 6 days a week. And within 6 months, I was working 54, 60 hours a week for not much more money. I left 3.5 years later, making $5 an hour. TD, technical directing, ADing, associate directing, keeping time for new newscasts, half-hour new newscasts. From there, I went to NBC for a couple of years as a vacation relief videotape editor, then to ABC, and I've been at ABC for 35 years. I'm now a technical director. For 20 years, I traveled with sports. I did replays, mostly editing. I'm the vice president of NABIT CWA Local 16, which is the technical union at ABC and NBC.
Wow, that's awesome. Andrew, you're up.
Hi, I'm Andrew Rabinowitz. I was the vice president of BTV and graduated in May of 2019. I was an English major with a creative writing focus, and now for the past little over a year, I've been working at Horizon Media, which is an ad agency based in Manhattan. And I'm currently an assistant media buyer. So my job is buying commercial time and local, I buy commercial spots in local markets and manage different national ad campaigns. So pretty cool.
All right. So I guess my next question would be same order of everyone. How have you adapted for COVID-19?
Have or still am. So obviously, we went from, if you go back, I remember having discussions, as I'm sure kind of everybody did, when, this whole coronavirus thing started, in like December, January, like, the next big thing that, we're not going to have to worry about because none of that ever hits here nearly as bad as we think it is. And, we're joking about it and whatever. And You know, and then in like February, we transitioned from basketball to lacrosse season, and we're still like, yeah, you know, all right, it's, you know, okay, we have one case here. It's not going to be all that bad. Nobody really knows what this is. And then, you know, I remember the Ivy League was the first that kind of shut down. We were in the middle of a lacrosse game, broadcasting the lacrosse game on ESPN Plus. Women's lacrosse game, and I'm getting text messages from my aunt who works in healthcare locally here, and she's like, what are you guys still doing playing games? Like, you guys have to, like, everybody, you know, the whole world. I'm like, you know, I just kept saying, like, you know, it's business as usual until it isn't. You know, I'm not the one making these decisions. If we have games, I'm gonna broadcast them, you know. And in the matter of 2 days, we went from okay, we're gonna still play games, but we're not gonna, you know, but nothing's gonna change. And then it was half a day later, okay, we're still gonna play games, but we're not gonna have any fans. Then it was, okay, we're still gonna play games, but it's like just now gonna be the regular season. There's gonna be no playoffs. And then it was, we're not playing any more games. So being that I'm in charge of live streaming and all of the in-game entertainment, video related, now with no games, now what is my job? So it became a lot of kind of producing content for social media. We had to move our end of year awards banquet to all virtual. So I had to deal with all that and kind of put that whole thing together. You know, and, you know, we started a new Instagram page for our athletics department, and Twitter page, Bearcats Vault. If you follow it, it's, I think it's pretty cool, you know, kind of showing some old pictures from, I mean, right now it's kind of more recent pictures from like, you know, 2014 through, you know, like 2010 or so, I think is the period that we're mostly focused on right now, just because we have digital copies of those as opposed to trying to scan pictures, but we're getting there. And now that we're back in school and waiting for basketball season to start here in 2 weeks, you know, now it's trying to figure out how to produce live sports in a socially distant COVID world. You know, and the NCAA mandates with keeping basically everybody who is not directly related to the team away from the team, because we're not getting tested multiple times a week like the teams are. So, okay, now we can't put our cameras under the baskets. We can't have our talent sitting courtside, you know, and we can only have 3 people in our production booth because, you know, capacity is cut. So where do we make concessions, or where do we double up positions, or, you know, how do we kind of make those adjustments? So it certainly has been, I'm sure for all of you, and I'm not alone in saying this, it's been a very interesting and sometimes stressful 7 months or so, but, you know, I keep just half kiddingly telling people I'm surviving 2021 day at a time. So.
Awesome. Will, you can go now.
On a personal level, I work in control rooms, and a couple of years ago we had a flu or some sickness just going through our facility. People would recover, others would get sick, and we petitioned the company to put Purell dispensers in the control rooms and have bleach or alcohol wipes, and it became a habit for the associate directors, and technical directors that worked in the studios. So that really lent itself to best practices for when COVID hit. And it continued, and people got a little more conscientious about keeping themselves and the equipment clean that everyone touches. On a company level, on a Disney ABC level, it's been horrible. Our longtime CEO, who came out of ABC, Bob Iger, basically bailed and took an $87 million golden parachute right before things hit in the United States. He had known what was coming. We have properties in Shanghai and in Tokyo and I think Hong Kong. And that was great for him, but it sort of set the tone for the company And the reaction to COVID has been by division, department by department, show by show. So all the things you would think that would happen, temperature, distributing masks, best practices, training people, are very good in some shows, not so in others, until someone gets sick. And then there's a shutdown and a reevaluation. And we've had that in the Tamron Hall show. We've had a number of sicknesses. Good Morning America, we've had sicknesses, and we've had one death of a cameraman. And it's been, I think, shameful how the corporation has dealt with it. NBC is a little better, not much. CBS is much better. So it's been very inconsistent. On a bright note side, ABC and sports and ESPN experimented with this idea of the bubble that worked so well for the NBA down in Disney World. They first did it with boxing, with airing mostly on ESPN, maybe on ABC a little bit, and sort of perfected it where the participants, the players, the coaches, the trainers, the technicians, the talent, all were isolated in various places. And that was it. You signed on for a month or 3 months and you stayed in those areas. I think it's a horrible way to work, but it was necessary and actually successful, where the other sports have not been as successful. So it's a mixed bag. I think I'm lucky that I have a union and we have some pull and some power to demand certain practices where maybe more non-union divisions can't. They do what they're told. And very early on, before even New York shut down, our company told us that everyone in our union, every technical person was an essential worker. And so we've worked the whole time where most everyone above the studios, literally the floors above, are working from home, which is also nice for us because the buildings are somewhat empty. So that's been good too for us. And good for the people that don't have to commute in, don't have to expose themselves and maybe their families to COVID.
Thank you. And
oh, sorry, Will, I got a question for you. Sure. On that. As a TD, do you have any remote access control? Can you switch anything from home?
No. And there is some of that in the industry. I'm not involved in that, so I'm really not up on it. No, I have to go in. We add the commercials, we do the fix-ups for news, things like that, and you have to be there to do it. But it's pretty exciting hearing about productions that are remote, and it's the way the industry is going, certainly, much to the detriment to a lot of our union members that depended for a big part of their income on college sports mostly. They are just hemorrhaging work. And COVID just accelerated that. That was something coming down anyway.
Yeah, it's wild to see a game that's, MLB game or whatever, where you've got, your 3-man booth is in 3 different cities. Your
Absolutely
TV is in another city. Your graphics are in, you got 8 guys in 5 different time zones doing one game.
So and this has already begun, but the idea of sending hundreds of people to say cover an Olympics, that's history. That's not going to happen. And it's already to a certain degree happened in the last 10 years, 20 years.
all right, before I go on to Andrew, I actually have a question relating to the Olympics for you, Will. What do you think is going to happen? How do you think they're going to do that?
I have no idea.
Okay. I was just wondering because I was supposed
I did one Olympics many years ago. I really don't have any idea. And I'm not sure they know. I really,
Yeah. All right. I was just wondering because I want to know if I'm working with NBC this summer.
Oh, up in Stanford?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
Hopefully. Definitely, hopefully. All right. Andrew, how has COVID affected your job?
Um,
Adapted.
it's been pretty wild. So a good chunk of my job was, I mean, I live on Long Island. I commuted to Manhattan every day. You know, took the subway, took Long Railroad, all that. And my agency, I work in Horizon Next, which is sort of an agency within an agency. We're like within the main company, but also a subsidiary of Horizon. So around March 10th, like early March, we were the first, 500-600 people in my agency to all go remote. And 3 days before the rest of the agency, before most of the general ad industry in general, and we went into it thinking, oh, we're going to be home for 3 days, it's fine. And now here we are. That was beginning of March, and now it is November. And we're here. We all took our laptops home. I luckily had a second monitor, and so far my entire agency and my direct team have been working almost business as usual. We haven't lost any productivity. We brought on a lot of new people remotely, which has been really interesting for people onboarding completely remote. That's been crazy for me specifically. It's really, the work from home thing is kind of what everyone's doing now. It's been, I mean, my work essentially really hasn't changed all that much. I mean, we're still managing campaigns. We still have clients active. We were we were totally dark for all of second quarter. And then once third quarter came in, we started getting clients active again. But things are crazy. Things are different. And we kind of, we don't know what's going to happen. They're bringing some people back to our office. So by March, they're saying we should be going back. And if you do decide to go back for their phase 2 opening, there's temperature checks, social distancing. You have to keep your mask on the entire time. There's a buzzer that beeps if you're within 6 feet of somebody else. All craziness. So all kinds of stuff. But in terms of my actual work and doing what I need to do on a day-to-day basis, functionally, I can do everything that I need to do through, especially the Microsoft Teams has been big. That's our main program that we use. And so, yeah, that's generally been my experience.
Speaking of having a second monitor, it's been an expensive quarantine too, because I bought a computer for my house a while ago to be able to handle video editing, but then I quickly realized that it wasn't quite as fast, so I had to upgrade the RAM, upgrade the video card. I did buy a second monitor to replace a second monitor. So again, things that didn't really expect to deal with.
Oh yeah, buying extra cables, figuring out different monitor situations. I almost needed 3 monitors for a minute there. It's
Got one in my closet you can have.
Sounds good.
Yeah, so hi everyone, my name is Sam and I'm the secretary for BTV. And I just want to say to Andrew, Bill, and Jeremy, I'm thankful that you guys and really appreciate you guys speaking to me and our BTV members. So my question is, it's tough at Binghamton right now because obviously we don't have a communications major or a journalism major. So I guess for the Binghamton alumni, what experiences did you find were very helpful to you? And you just describe your experiences in order to find your first job. And even for Jeremy, I know you may not be a Binghamton alumni, but what experiences do you feel helped you to find your first job?
For me, the biggest thing is internships. Even if you can't get an internship at a if you want to go into TV news, that's because that was what I wanted to do. So, I look for internships at local TV news stations. Even if you can't get a weeks long internship or, months long or summer internship or whatever, just see if you can maybe not currently because of COVID, but see if you can, go shadow somebody for a day. a lot of stations might let you do that, even if, you might not be going out on stories, because if you're not an intern, they might, for insurance reasons, they might not let you travel in the company cars, but you could hang around the newsroom for a day or so, or, but try and get an internship with, any business that's in the field that you want to go to. If it's, more kind of production, go find an ad agency or something that, goes and shoots commercials all day. But maybe I didn't pay enough attention in my broadcasting classes in Oswego, but I definitely learned more from my internship than I did the majority of my classes, because you get that real world hands-on experience that a textbook just isn't going to teach you.
I definitely agree. Will, do you want to add?
I might be not a great example of this, because I kind of fell into my first TV job. I'm sorry. Someone had quit Channel 12 on a Friday, and Saturday morning, the head of sales happened to be a Korean War buddy of an uncle of mine who stopped by Binghamton to say hello for a few minutes. And the guy was in the car and came out and said, "You have TV experience?" And I said, "Sure." And I put in my resume, but it was a minimum wage job, 3 hours a day. They didn't really, not too many communication majors were going to settle for that, really, in Binghamton. So that was a long time ago. But I agree that internship, any kind of practical knowledge or skill is worth it. And you have to be a generalist, at least from a technical area. The days of being a camera operator or an editor or just something like that are over. You have to have a range of skills. And in fact, a lot of these skills emerging anyway. I mean, graphics operators are also editors. And so any kind of practical experience you can come up with is worth it. Other than that, show up on time, dress appropriately, ask a lot of questions, and be unrelenting about it. TV used to be, it's sort of, in my mind, the industry is shaped like a diamond. It's history, where years ago, it was the networks and affiliates. And if you wanted to get somewhere, you started at Binghamton or a place smaller, and you worked your way up, hopefully going to Buffalo or something like that. And then eventually maybe getting to a big city, a #1 market. And then that exploded with cable and production companies and all. And it provided an incredible multiplier of jobs. And not only that, the jobs were open to more different kinds of people. It wasn't war veterans that had technical experience from what I was used to when I started. The old guys were from the Korean War, and it was all old white guys. And I think the industry expanding helped to expand the workforce too, and include women. You cannot believe when I started how few women worked in technical areas. And if they did, they were ghettoized into graphics because they were keyboard operators, right? But now I see a real concentration and centralization of corporate America, especially in industry. And with technology and automation, a lot of those jobs are shrinking away. So I think it's a hard time now compared to just maybe 10 years ago.
Yeah, I completely agree, especially with the fact that there's no women in the industry. We could see here, there's 4 girls here.
Well, to me, there are young women where when I started, there weren't at all. Although that said, when I was in Binghamton, one of the directors was a woman. The producer of Action News for Kids, the kids show, I don't know if it's still on, that was a woman, maybe because it was a kids show, right? And she went on to be a big shot at Sesame Street. Jody Nussbaum, great alumni from Binghamton. So I do see more and more. That said, there's only one woman TD that I work with. There used to be more, in fact.
Wow.
Yeah. More in production, like associate directors, although that's still male dominated, white male dominated.
Definitely. I completely agree.
So when I was at Fox 40, and again, I don't necessarily have the big city experience that certainly some of my counterpart or my colleagues that have moved on from Fox 40 and out of Binghamton have, but it wasn't home for them, so it's easier for me to stay. But when I was there, we'd kind of go through. I mean, I was there for 7 years. We'd go through kind of ebbs and flows. Nobody stayed for very long. I think on average it was 7-8 months, but we'd have, one time we'd be kind of 50-50 male, female on-air talent. And then like we had a period of 3 or 4 months where it was pretty much all guys because all the girls got better jobs and left. And the guys were left just to be in Binghamton. And then my news director was like, yeah, enough of this. And my news director was a woman. She's like, enough of this. We need to get some girls in here. And then kind of hired like 7 or 8 girls. And then we had like an all female news team, which again, I'm not saying good or bad, men versus women. At this point, everybody does equitable work. But, and then as all those guys left and, so it's, yes, there, as you said, there's only 4 women on this call, but that's, again, the industry is very much more even than you probably, getting more even certainly than it was, 15, 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah, especially in my experience, I've been working at Horizon, which is a pretty decently sized agency for over a year. And I had a summer-long internship with Turner Broadcasting, which is now Warner Media, in their digital sales division. And it's very much an even split men and women. I mean, I would say a majority of my team right now at Horizon, majority of people of my team is women. I'm probably 75-25 split. I've found, at least in my experience working in media, that there's a good amount of both genders in at least the places that I've worked in specifically, which I think is great.
That's awesome. Yeah. And Andrew, I guess, how would you, just to get back to the original question, like what experiences like at Binghamton do you feel like helped you, I guess, to get your first job?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think I started at BTV when I was a sophomore, and a lot of the work I did was putting things together, getting people to start different shows, helping legacy things starting up, helping news get back on track, helping shows like Ballaholics, putting on my own live show that my sophomore year was the spring thing. I still have the flyers for that. That was a big nostalgia. But doing things like that, working on big projects, really helped with personal skills that I didn't realize I got until really after I graduated and started working. Things like just overall organization, being able to talk to people, being able to have relationships and work things up, like especially at BTV, like you're on your own. If you want to make something happen, you gotta meet with different people. You gotta say, all right, how do we solve this problem? Who do we talk to? We had our live band for our show. We needed sounds. Who do we talk to for sound? Who do we go for this? And it was just, so those certain things of even putting any show on at BTV, it's a big feat of organization. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of people to be there, coordinate who's working cameras, how many angles do you want to have, how are we editing it? So that organization, social skills, and very much attention to details were 3 things that BTV helped me with. And then also building on what everyone else said, internships. Internships were big. I was lucky enough to start working at Warner Media. That was summer of my sophomore year in 2018. And that was a really cool experience that got me started, not directly in TV production, but in media buying, which is something I'm really interested in and passionate about and really have been enjoying for the past year. And yeah, so the biggest thing is, especially since Binghamton doesn't have a communications major, it's all about how you leverage it and how you can discuss it. Like, for example, my English major, going into different interviews, you have to learn to emphasize what skills you think that give you. And for me, it's, it's able to write, communication, all those types of things that really you kind of have to focus on. Well, what job am I going for? How do I leverage this and kind of show off what the things I want to show off that will impress the people I'm talking to? So it's a lot of, study what you're interested in, and then it's more a matter of how you personally leverage that into future opportunities is on you. But I think the most important thing is just do what you find really interesting and what you find that can transfer into future opportunities.
I think so much of TV, especially in news, but also in entertainment, is learning to tell a story. Even if you're editing, you're telling a story. It has to be coherent. And that is something that you might not learn in communications. And I've known a lot of news people, both talent and producers and things, that were terrible writers and knew nothing about history or economics. And I was always horrified by that. But if you can read and write and tell a story, that's going to help you.
Oh yeah, could not agree more.
As starting off part-time at Fox 40, I got out of school in May of 2010. I didn't start there until December of 2011. So, after going from, all my professors and friends up in Oswego telling me, oh, you'll have no problem getting a job because, you're so good and and everybody will be trying to snatch you up. And then I get out of school. Granted, it was still kind of the tail end of, of the recession. And I wasn't finding anything. I sent resumes out to every state or every station in New York State, whether they were hiring or not. Eventually canvassed the Northeast, the Eastern Seaboard, pretty much at least one in every state except for North Dakota, because I just had this fear that the only job I'd get would be North Dakota and I'd be stuck there for 40 years and hate it. Could not bring myself to send one to Alaska. I figured that was too far away. Anyway, but I got hired part-time to be a PA, production assistant. So I was running the audio board, which I really knew nothing about because, again, I wanted to be on the air. So that was what I focused on in school. Floor directing, I had done that sort of in school, but again, it was much different in the real world. Very little opportunities at first to shoot, write, edit, especially writing, and certainly the reporting aspect. I would do some shooting and some editing, but I just kind of weaseled my way into asking the anchors and producers, hey, do you need help with writing these stories? And they'd say, do you think you can handle it? And I'm like, well, worst case, you read it and you fix a few things, whatever. And I'll never forget maybe by like my second day of doing that, I wrote a story, and the, one anchor who was she had been in multiple markets, including the New York market, and, bounced around to different places. She goes and she reads it and she goes, perfect, done. I don't think she changed one comma, one period, anything. And I was like, okay, there we go. And kind of from there, then I started getting, okay, we're not just going to send you out, but like, we're going to have you now package this story instead of just shoot it and we'll, And then it became, okay, can you record something and we'll put you, record something at the wall and we'll put you, in the newscast. And then it was, okay, now can you cover this 8-hour reporting shift where, and you're not going to be doing any technical stuff. You're just going to be one of our reporters. So again, it's, as Will said, if you know how to read and write and you can tell a story, that's going to open up a lot of doors.
Yeah, that's very true. So we actually got a Michael, I don't know how to pronounce your name, your last name.
Yeah, it's Mike Zagreda. And sorry for showing up late, guys. You know how, once there's a game on, it's, everything's going off at once. So I'm just glad I've been able to join here today with you guys.
Yeah, we're very happy to have you. So Could you just maybe introduce yourself, background, your current job, like what you do, and your college major?
Sure, absolutely. So I am a software developer for the NFL. And while I was at Binghamton, I'm class of 2014. I started off as a computer science major and borderline cinema major. It was one point where I was going to go full on in cinema. Decided, there are different paths I wanted to take. Computer science was more my thing. So after 4 years and being part of BTV for about 3, became president senior year. And then I ended up working for Citibank for a little while, just, job right out of college, just something that was available. But really, I was looking for something to kind of branch, with that previous history and kind of make things more interesting. So after about 3 years at Citi, an opportunity came up in the NFL, not just for software development, but to be part of their stadium infrastructure team. Now, it's not just, the TV trucks that work every game there. You got to think it's a whole different environment we got going on. We have our instant replay systems. We got our coaches' communications. We also work in injury prevention and recordings of that nature. You could think of at least like 12 different systems that just our department work on. And, it's just very expansive. So from that, a lot of my experience at BTV actually came into play, and that's why it became a perfect fit for us. Software development's one thing. Everyone's going to need a programmer. But at the end of the day, and the fun thing is, a lot of the stuff that I picked up at BTV can be helpful in a game day environment. You're working with a lot of cables, definitely going through a lot of camera setup. And, at the end of the day, sometimes we have to be our own film crews. They want to set up their own cameras. We have monitors of every stadium. They're looking for angles. Replays definitely improving every year, trying to get, as much as they can. And, when you think about it, it's definitely not the aesthetics of a movie or a TV show, but the principles still apply. Presentation requirements and that sort of professionalism that you need from a TV studio still work in something like a regular football game. And from that, it's been a pretty happy relationship now, going 3 years now. Like every other job in the past 9 months, responsibilities have certainly changed. And I could tell you firsthand, technology and just all the advancements that we've done in the media realm have really gone into hyperdrive now. There's a lot of, individual setup. We need stadiums to be able to stand alone, set up their own kind of video server without us helping them. And it's certainly been an experience. And glad I could get at least 15 minutes out of the day to spend with you guys.
Yeah, definitely. Your job sounds very, very intense. Sam Nesser, I believe you had a question that you wanted to ask.
Yeah. Okay. So my name is Sam Nesser. I'm the production manager for BTV. I just want to thank all you, Jeremy, Andrew, William, and Michael, for being here today. It's really great that you could all make it. So a question I wanted to ask, I guess, everyone, is, so as Michael was actually explaining how, his ideology for what he wanted to do changed a little bit, my question would be, at least when you were a kid or, in high school, college, what was your dream job, and in what aspects did that change for you along the way? I know that, the entertainment industry is usually like, you're not going to like my dream job, I want to be as a director. I know I'm not going to get that out of college. I feel like it's, a common thing that, your particular dream job changes along the way. So yeah, I guess, how did that change?
All right, so I think we'll start with Jeremy, then we'll go to William, Andrew, and then Michael, you're last because you came last. Sorry.
Best for last, right?
You lose.
So my dream job dream job was to be a Major League Baseball player. Yeah, I mean, again, like if I could do anything in the world, anything at all, that was my dream at, 10, 11, 12 years old. I was convinced that it was going to happen. You could not tell me otherwise. Once I kind of got to, and even in high school, like, I figured, okay, I might not be like an all-star on my, my high school team, but hey, Michael Jordan got cut from his varsity team as a freshman, right? So, this could still happen. And then, once I kind of realized that I couldn't throw, like, I think the first time that I kind of realized that, yeah, this wasn't going to happen, like for sure, was when because I was a lefty, or I am a lefty. So I pitched and played first base, and I touched 80 on the radar gun once and it hurt. And I'm like, yeah, that's okay. All right. This isn't going to work out. But, I want, at one point I was looking at maybe graphic design, designing sports logos. Once I knew I wasn't going to play baseball, I wanted to do something in sports. I love sports. I grew up, loving hockey. Baseball certainly is, my biggest passion. Basketball, I played since I was 5. So what can I do in sports? Okay, graphic design, maybe, designing professional sports logos. But then it was summer of 2005. I'm a big Mets fan. And that was the year that SNY debuted, the Mets TV network. And I don't remember any details of the game other than it was a blowout one way or the other. Being the Mets, they were probably losing big, but Gary, Keith, and Ron, their crew in the booth, I'm biased, but I'll say the best in the business. They were filling time and telling stories and joking around, and I don't want to say making fun of what was going on the field, but they realized that this game is not entertaining. People are going to stop watching, so now we have to become the entertainment. And it was just so enjoyable to watch. And it was in that moment that I realized 2 things. One, these guys are talking about sports for a living. And 2, these guys are talking for a living. And as you've probably figured out by now, as my dad always says, I learned how to talk when I was, 2 years old, and I have yet to figure out how to shut up. So I figured this is the perfect field for me. So I started looking at, broadcasting from there. I, looked at Ithaca. Everybody was talking about Syracuse. I decided that was probably way too expensive. So I didn't even really look there. Oswego, I visited once there. My dad was a graduate, so he got invited to an alumni event, which happened to be hosted by ESPN's Steve Levy and NBC's Al Roker. I got a surf and turf dinner at an alumni thing. So, I mean, that kind of sealed the deal. But, from there, my dream job, I wanted to be a sports center anchor. Anybody that kind of goes in, or something equivalent, anybody that, I dare say anybody that goes into the world of broadcasting with the goal of being an on-air talent and in sports wants to be on Sports Center, right? So that was my dream job from 18 on. I guess probably still would be my dream job, but broadcast television, especially for on-air, is very humbling. As I said, it took me 1.5 years to get a part-time job. In my 6+ years at Fox 40, I must have sent out hundreds, if not thousands, of resumes and demo reels and didn't get a call on a single one. Like, not even just like, they went with somebody else after I interviewed. I didn't get another interview. So again, very humbling. I got the job at the university. I'm grateful for that. It's been a great opportunity. Maybe my life on the air and television isn't over. I haven't necessarily closed the book on that. I've maybe just hit the pause button. We'll see. But at the moment, I'm good with where I am right now, and we'll see where the road takes me at this point.
So when I was a little kid, I wanted to be an oceanographer. And when I was in college, I realized I wasn't going to be a science major. I didn't have the math. I gave up that dream. And even though TV wasn't on my radar in college, I used to joke about how some of the things I did growing up, just besides just watching TV, lent itself to the job. Because whether it was as a little kid, I lived near Shea Stadium, and it was $2 to get to a game. My older brother and I used to go. I was a Yankees fan, but it was right there. And the games usually sucked. And I used to always be distracted by what was going on, not so much to produce the show for TV, but just all the things that went into running a stadium. And when I was a little kid, I used to be bored with a play and watch like what's going on in the wings. And I was a dissatisfied young Catholic. And rather than sit in those masses, I became an altar boy because it was like doing the show rather than watching the show. So if I had to be there, and I also kid that I was a lifeguard. That's how I paid my way through college. You could do that back then for $510 a semester tuition, right? And you watched. So just that idea of how'd they do that? And it happens today when Broadway comes back and we can see plays again. I'm always fascinated by how you produce the show. I do remember though, on Monday nights running home after my Boy Scout meetings to watch a little of Monday Night Football. I could stay up to halftime. So if I ran home, I could catch some of it. And in 1988, working at ABC, when I made the Monday Night Football crew and was there for 18 years, I worked with guys that were doing the show when I was a little kid, that they started with the show. And so that was a dream for me. I didn't know it when I was young, it would be, but certainly doing it, I never forgot how lucky I was, how fortunate I was. And to have known the people, both production, some management, but technical people that actually created Monday Night Football, including Rue Knowledge, and work with them. That was incredible, incredible. So that was a dream.
All right, Andrew, you're up. I know you have to leave in a second, so you can speak quickly.
I got a little bit of time. Yeah, I'm a weird case. I never really had a thing I wanted to do. I mean, I've always loved writing. I always wanted to write young adult adventure novels. Was my big thing all through high school and through beginning of college. But once I got involved in BTV, I was really undecided. That was always something I'm like, I'm gonna do that. I can do that separately, and I'm not looking for that starving artist life. So after I happened to fall into, it was the summer of my sophomore year, I kind of figured, all right, well, I luckily got into this internship with Warner Media. That was at Time Warner Center. It was very biggest thing I ever did. It was very scary. And I was like, well, I'm either going to do this. I'm going to go into media. I'm going to like it, or I'm going to go to law school. I kind of just made as so many people, our age and there's so many things to do that it's so difficult to decide. So at some point you got to be like, all right, I'd rather hate something and do something else than be indecisive about it. So I made my choice. I luckily had my internship at Warner. I made a lot of fantastic connections in the industry. I made a lot of great friends I still have to this day. And that internship led me to now work on the agency side in media buying. And that's been really cool. I'd like to, in an ideal world, be an account exec for digital buying. Really what got me interested in media in the first place was how we buy and place ads for online video, OTT, programmatic ad sales, things of that nature that are really new and exciting in the industry and changing all the time. And that was really what I'm really excited in. And it's not exactly what I'm doing now, but again, I got a lot of time. I'm not super worried. I'll get there. And yes, that was kind of my journey. So for anyone who's super indecisive, not sure where they're going, just at some point you got to make a decision. Just go for it, and it'll either really work out or it won't, and you'll do something else.
Yeah, that gives me a little hope.
Thank you, Andrew.
All right, Michael, what do you want to go by?
Yeah, you could call me Mike. So when it came time for high school, I feel like I had like on a whiteboard at least like 15 different career paths that I had options for. I'm like, okay, do that for 10 years, then I'll just switch careers entirely. That's my plan. But at that point, even like freshman year of high school, I was known as the computer guy in my family. And while I knew it was something I was good at, it wasn't something I was passionate about. I think we were ways off from, people designing their own computers. And, we were still on AOL, and we were still, I think the best thing we had at that point, not even the iPod. We were still on Walkmans then. So the technology wasn't fully, realized at that point. So once I was in high school, I joined the media group, our television station in high school. Found out I was really into that. And by the time I came into college, while I applied for computer science because it was what I was good at, I thought, maybe this will be something I want to go down. And then, a few years in, I realized, well, I could just do both. And really in the early 2010s, that's when, everything was going online. There was going to be an app for everything. And I realized I could combine these two loves, media and technology. And it really is about, what you're good at versus what your passion is. And if you could kind of meet those halfway, it works out wonderful. While my first job, I'm not going to say I regret working at City, but obviously, there are some dreams that are unfulfilled until you kind of, meet up with everything you have in your goals. So City was an experience for my, computer abilities. And then finally, I was able to realize that at the NFL. And, it's not like media is always going to be in demand at the NFL. We're never going to close out games and just have fans only. So yeah, the potential is there, but no matter what, there's always going to be a growth area for that. And it's not just computers. You could combine anything you like. If you're great at finance, well, obviously everyone needs finance. Everyone needs accountants. I mean, you could list every major and kind of match it with what you want. And I think, in a day and age where, more Americans than ever are going to college and, more getting educated, and there's plenty of tools to kind of learn. It's sort of that ability to be a jack of all trades and pretty close to a master of multiple trades to really make a name for yourself. And that's really been my key takeaway from the past couple of years here.
That's a very interesting take. All right, so it's kind of getting late, and I know a lot of people have to go now. So before we wrap up, I was hoping all of our panel members could put in either their LinkedIn or their email in the chat so people could connect with you guys. So it's not all lost after today, possibly.
If anyone has questions that they didn't get answered.
Yes. You have more questions, you can just ask away.
I'll be in my office for, I don't know how long, but a while. So feel
I'll
free
come
to ask.
stop by.
I gotta get my LinkedIn. You'll get it. Ask Lindsey for my LinkedIn.
Kind of stopped paying attention to my LinkedIn. I apologize, but anybody can find me on Twitter or Instagram or whatever too if you need.
Yeah, search Andrew Rabinowitz. You'll find me eventually.
Will do.
Yeah, thanks guys. Good to see you all again.
Yeah, you too.
Thank you everyone for participating.
Yeah.
And all our B2B members for coming.
Yes, thank you for everyone to make this happen. Like it's very exciting that this actually worked out really well, even during COVID times. So I'm very glad.
Well
Thank you
done.
so
Thank
much,
you.
everyone.
Thank
Well
you, guys.
done. Thank you for inviting me.
Yes, likewise. Thanks
Thank-
for having us.
Nice
Great
job.
job, guys.
Yeah. Thank you guys. Really great job. Happy to be here.
Thank you all for coming.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
My pleasure.
All right, guys can go.
Thanks, guys.
Of course.